Starting and running a small business is tough, especially if that small business is a restaurant. Joining us now to talk about the challenges of keeping a restaurant open and thriving in New Jersey is Marilou Halvorsen, president of the New Jersey Restaurant Association. Welcome.
Great to have you with us for the first time.
Thank you very much.
So, first question, what are the unique challenges facing New Jersey restaurants?
Well, the economy, number one. Restaurants operate on a very slim profit margin, so trying to keep the checks and balances of that is certainly an issue. You have labor, you have food costs, you have regulations, and managing a small business, quite often the owner is, could be the chef, he's the manager, he's the busboy, and he's got to do all the paperwork and all the finances and making sure he's complying with the law.
Or she.
Or she, very good, yes. So it's, it's truly the small business, and there's a lot of regulations that we have to comply with.
Marilou, we're talking before we got on the air. You grew up in New Jersey.
I did.
You know the industry well. Make a connection for folks in terms of, you're talking about Jenkinson's, which people know well, down in Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant
right?
Beach, yeah.
And the Casino Pier.
Yeah, in Seaside Heights.
People know that, the iconic Casino Pier, right?
Yeah.
So you know that well. Post-Sandy, how much for in those communities that were devastated, impacted seriously by Hurricane Sandy, how much more are they adversely impacted in terms of how they have to run their business? How much harder is it for them?
Well, they're still trying to navigate through the insurance claims, what's next, and the perception basically this summer was really hard for those businesses because the perception was the Jersey Shore was still closed, that it was still underwater, that we weren't ready. Even though the state did a great job of advertising it, there was still a lot of concern. I spoke to my restaurants in South Jersey and in North Jersey. North Jersey had some of the best summer that they've ever had, and unfortunately at the cost of my South Jersey and Shore restaurants.
How did they do, relatively speaking, compared to before Sandy?
In some towns, I spoke to one restaurant member down in Normandy, she was off 60%, Long Branch was off 20%. So it was pretty, Monmouth and Ocean County very much hit the hardest.
And how many restaurants still not open? How many were just destroyed? Do you know?
Well,
percentage-wise?
Percentage-wise, I'm not sure percentage. I can tell you that in Monmouth and Ocean County, and again, some of them may have not reopened after Sandy because some were hit by Irene. One restaurant was hit Irene, then Sandy, and just said, forget it.
Right.
Some are still struggling with insurance issues, so probably about 15 within the Monmouth Ocean County area.
Is that why Jersey Shore is open for business, that campaign is so important?
Every dollar that we can spend in advertising our tourism industry is very important.
Describe that, because the association is involved in this campaign.
Yes.
Right? But you can't advertise and promote every restaurant, so explain that to us. How does that work?
Well, the state, through its partnership, there's a group of us that all the New Jersey Travel Industry Association, where you have basically all similar like tourism associations come together, work with the state through travel and tourism.
So the Division of Travel and Tourism.
The Division of Travel and Tourism, and to really come together and promote the regions. There's so many different assets that New Jersey has, and thankfully there's restaurants in all of them.
Right.
So whether it's Liberty State Park, or you have casinos, or up in the Skylands area, each area needs to be promoted because New Jersey has some of the best tourism. I mean, we're 4 seasons a year. So really the state needs to give more money to tourism, in my opinion, because every dollar invested in tourism is a return of $33 back to the state. It's the second biggest industry in the state of New Jersey. The hospitality industry is the largest private sector employer in the state. We're putting people to work. So to invest in tourism, to invest in small businesses, to invest in restaurants is really an investment in New Jersey.
Now, you've been president of the New Jersey Restaurant Association for
1 year and a couple weeks.
So it's just after Sandy.
My first day was the day Hurricane Sandy hit.
So I guess that's been
the first day.
The first day was my first official start day.
So that's been obviously I guess your focus.
I didn't know if that was kind of an
omen.
Yeah, exactly. What was to come,
But what is? I mean, aside from trying to help, get the word out that New Jersey is open for business, the restaurants are open for business in South Jersey. Aside from that, once you get beyond that, what is your chief responsibility?
3 things: advocating, educating, and supporting the restaurant industry. Educating restaurant members, compliance, our Serve Safe food programs, alcohol Serve Safe programs.
What does that mean? Don't go past that too quickly.
Well, in the
Serve
state of
safe?
Yeah, serve safe food and alcohol. We offer those classes to our restaurant members through a grant that we have with Department of Labor at no cost. There is a mandate in the state of New Jersey that you need to have someone in the food safety program, be it an accredited food safety program. It's right now one per establishment. It's going to go to one per shift. So we educate our restaurant members. We provide those classes. And then we also provide serve safe alcohol for those that have liquor licenses to make sure that they're serving liquor responsibly.
One of the issues, because you advocate, right? That means you take positions
Yes.
in front of government officials that you believe, as an industry, are helpful to your members. The minimum wage issue was decided in this election, which is now part of the Constitution.
Right.
Okay? The minimum wage will in fact go up every year in the state of New Jersey based on the cost of living increase. The index goes up, the minimum wage goes up. That's just going to happen.
Right.
Okay. But there is something that is different. There's a tipped minimum wage, meaning so if you work on tips, you have a different minimum wage, and that it was not directly affected by the voters passing that bond referendum, right? But
Right.
there is an indirect effect.
There is.
Explain
yes.
this.
Well, the tip is going to $8.25. I'm sorry, the minimum wage is going to $8.25. Tipped is $2.13.
$2.13 an hour. If you work for tips, your minimum wage is $2.13.
Correct.
And
However,
that's a federal.
right now it's in the state.
Yes.
However, you
It's state by state.
I see.
right,
Okay.
but you every server is guaranteed the minimum wage, and they need to get that through their tips. So if they don't make that up in their tips,
Who makes that up?
then the employer makes it up. So if you work and you do not get to your $8.25 with tips, then the employer has to make
So
up
hold
the
on.
difference.
So just hypothetically, if I'm serving someone like Raf,
You
know where I'm
wouldn't make it.
going.
You wouldn't make it.
okay, just say I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
But you get my point. Someone who is not as generous as some others. I'm totally hypothetical
Okay.
because it's generous. But my point is, you're saying that that is the job of the restaurateur?
Correct.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just like another employer. But so in effect, direct or indirect, this law did affect you because
It does, yes.
And the position of the association was clearly against it then.
Yes, we were part of the greater.
Why?
For two reasons. One is the Constitution, but also
You didn't want it done through the Constitution.
Yes, I mean we as
Few
far
seconds
as
left. Go ahead.
but because right now you're dealing with a slim profit margin, and in bad economic times, this could end up costing people's jobs.
okay.
Do you think people could lose their jobs over this?
All this legislation, eventually, slowly, it cuts away. There's technology out there where you can now order at a table through an iPad.
We'll talk more about this another time. Thank you, Marilou.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you.
And
First
that's it for this
appearance on
edition of
Capital.
New Jersey Capital Report. From my colleague Steve Adubato, I'm Rafael. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
He's a good tipper, he is.